All right, well, hello everybody. My name is Clint Runge. I'm the managing director of an agency called Archrival. Archrival is a creative agency with an expertise in youth culture. So we help brands, really big brands, help them attract and engage young consumers, and we do that in a lot of different ways. I say that we're a creative agency because we're focused on ideas first and foremost. That's the heart of Archrival. Really great ideas. How we execute those ideas could look in a lot of different ways. It could be through traditional marketing. It could be through non-traditional means, digital, social, environmental. We really try to keep all possible avenues. And in fact, even things that have never been done, those items are on the table too if it's a way to solve a problem. All right, so I've been asked to talk to you a little bit about startup life and some of the pros and cons that I've experienced. My experience is with Archrival. We've been in business for 17, 18 years now, so we've come a long way. I think what I'll do is I'll start with how Archrival started briefly, and then we'll go from there. Okay, so where Archrival started for me was in college. And when I was going through architecture school, I realized that the things that we were doing in our school were far and well advanced than what was being done in the architecture school when it came to using technology. And right from the outset realized that I was developing a skill set and a passion for something that was not in the market. And we used that, myself and my business partner at the time, used that to launch Archrival. Here's what we learned along the way. Realized that it's really hard to start up a company. I learned along the way that most companies do fail, and we were certainly not without coming very close ourselves. I think in Archrival's history, in the early years, the first 5 years, we were about out of business 3 different times. And every time we survived by the skin of our teeth. Now, that story is not uncommon. Of course, there's a lot more to that. But as I have met other entrepreneurs and people who own companies, it feels like it's just a lucky crowd, right? I mean, if you don't look behind it, you'll just say, wow, everybody just somehow barely scraped by, and the last moment something happened and it saved the company, and now they've built this really great, amazing thing, like Archrival. And I've kind of learned that along the way, what it really takes, and this is what I think of something I've learned along the way, is that the people who survive, okay, are the people whose heart are truly in it. If you want to make a lot of money, you're not going to survive. Like that's not how businesses make it, because it's so much more complicated than that. There's so much more emotion, and it's just deeper than that. You got to want to love what you do. I mean, you got to want that. And I always thought about Archrival as being my. It was simultaneously my hobby, and it was where I was making my career. And I think that's what I find true about other businesses. I mean, you gotta want that. And I always thought about Archrival as being my. It was simultaneously my hobby, and it was where I was making my career. And I think that's what I find true about other businesses. Other things I learned along the way. You need to surround yourself with really talented people. I've tried to make a habit of hiring people at Archrival that are more talented than I am at something. I think along the early beginning, I thought, well, it's my ship. I'm the captain. I gotta be number one, and I gotta know everything and be the best at everything. And while there's some truth to that to a degree, over time you gotta bring people into the fold. Like, you can't do it all. So really, but you gotta check the ego out of that, and that's the difficulty. Is who do you bring in who's better than you at something, I also found that having a really great lawyer and accountant, these were areas that I knew nothing about. We had a great idea, but making it a really operating a business is different, and you will come across challenges along the way that you need counsel for. And you got to have some people on your team that you trust, and a lawyer and accountant, as much as I actually dislike saying it, like you need them along the way. And we've been with the same crew from the beginning, and they've treated us really well. Same thing about a bank, you got to have that relationship formed. So, okay, I think I've also realized that no matter what your idea, not just true Archrival, but really any idea, in order for it to really blossom, you do have to forge relationships with people. And even if you had the most killer idea, but you were a real jerk, the idea's going to die. You could have a lame idea, but if you can rally people around it, it'll survive. I mean, you could probably go through the marketplace right now across different industries and get a sense for, yeah, I have no idea why this company is successful. The product is not even all that great, and yet they're super successful. I bet behind that somewhere is a guy or a girl that you would really like, you know? And so I think a lot of it is about relationships and building that. Look, there's a ton of smart people in the world, and they don't all come away with really great companies. And I think a lot of it has to do with their ego and just you got to forge relationships, and that's business, but that's also life. A couple maybe negative things along the way. Checks and balances. So for example, I think it was maybe Archrival is 17, 18 years old. I think about year 5 or so, and this is about one of the things that took us under, is we literally had a guy who was stealing from us. It blows my mind that that's even capable, but that's what was happening. We want to trust people, but we over-trusted. We didn't have checks and balances. And this guy about took us under, And after that whole thing, it was a really great learning for us. We realized you got to have checks and balances in the organization. And look, I fully trust everybody, but yet a good business is able to survive because it's properly managed with checks and balances. So put checks and balances in place. Even if you're teaming up with family members, I guess you just put the checks and balances in place so that you have something to come back to that goes beyond the trust a bit. Try to get everything in writing. It's amazing how you'll enter into agreements with clients or even employees or freelancers or whatever the business you're thinking about. Put it in writing. Over time, as you get deeper into projects, the perception of where you started changes. And I've had to go back several times and just look at the original intent of our conversations and why we were hired or whatever the goals were, and go back and be like, we've achieved what you've asked us to. By the way, there's times I went and looked back and I was wrong. It's just good to have that stuff in writing, even if you think you got a super sharp memory. Things morph, things change along the way, and you want to have something that you can go back with. So keep it in writing. All right.